What's up, Star Wars fans? Today I want to review Ahsoka Episode 7, Dreams and Madness. And the 7th episode of the Ahsoka series starts with none other than Hera. She's unfortunately being court-martialed by the New Republic, and despite the fact that she has some pretty compelling evidence, it certainly looks like she is going to lose her position as general. That is, until C-3PO shows up, representing, of course, Senator Leia Organa. Luckily for Hera Syndulla, 3PO is able to convince the court that Senator Organa actually cleared Hera's mission, and therefore she shouldn't be court-martialed. I gotta say, it was really cool to see 3PO, wasn't expecting that at all, and it was also great to see a whole host of other characters such as Mon Mothma, Carson Teva, and even a grumpy moment from Chopper. It really felt good to close off that story thread and head into the meat of this series, where we once again see Ahsoka Tano traveling to Peridea, but again, just like 3PO was a surprise in the first scene, we get to see Hayden Christensen again dressed in his Clone Wars uniform. Ahsoka tells us that this is a recording, and it's one of many that Anakin made for her to help her train. She also says something simple but very powerful that shows us exactly where her mindset is now, especially when it comes to her former master. She states that Anakin Skywalker was a good master, and it's certainly hard to deny that Anakin always had her best interest at heart, and although it was quite obvious after Episode 5 that she had made peace with Anakin, this was definitely a nice confirmation of that. Shortly after her training, Ahsoka, Huyang, and the Purrgil all arrive in Peridea, but unfortunately they're greeted with an Imperial minefield, and after Ahsoka narrowly escapes the minefield, she has a squadron of enemy fighters that she has to deal with, and in a very Star Wars-esque moment, she enters the debris cloud around Peridea and is able to evade that squadron. From there, we get another great scene with Ezra Bridger and Sabine Wren. I mean, I can remember making videos for the last 2 years and quite often saying that Dave Filoni's biggest challenge with this series was going to be this relationship between Ezra and Sabine, and while Amon Esfande and Natasha Liu Bordizzo as Ezra and Sabine are absolutely killing it. I absolutely love the fact that Sabine tells Ezra in this conversation that Ahsoka took her on as an apprentice, and I feel Ezra has the exact same reaction that the entire fandom did when they found out about this. But getting back to the story, Ahsoka is able to reach out in the Force and find out where Sabine is, just as the Night Sisters are reaching out in the Force and find her. Now, despite the fact that Ahsoka is discovered, she is able to make her way to the planet, where she once again duels Baylan Skoll. This saber fight was definitely shorter than their previous one, and in my humble opinion, wasn't nearly as well choreographed. What's interesting though is moments before this saber fight, Baylan Skoll actually tells his apprentice Shin that he's leaving her, that she is to go kill Ezra Bridger and Sabine Wren and take her rightful place in the new Empire. And this of course only deepens the mystery around this character and what might be happening in the next episode. Is he going searching for some sort of lost relic, or perhaps some sort of weapon of mass destruction? I'm so curious and can't wait for Episode 8. That said, the best part of this episode is definitely seeing Ezra and Sabine working together once again, fighting off mercenaries and Thrawn stormtroopers. I really like the idea that Ezra refused to take his lightsaber back. I mean, it's been 9 years since he's used a lightsaber, and as we see in the fight, he's developed his own style using the Force. I also absolutely loved how Dave Filoni incorporated some of that physical comedy that Ezra used to have in Star Wars Rebels. Though if I'm honest, I never really liked that physical comedy in Rebels, but thankfully it translates much better in this live-action show. In particular, I love how when they're surrounded and Shin orders for them to be destroyed, and Ezra's fumbling over his words, and finally gets out that it'd be a good idea to take them as prisoners. I thought that was very authentic Ezra. I also love the moment where Shin burns some of Ezra's hair, as she comes very close to taking his head off with her lightsaber. But getting back to the story, of course, Ahsoka, Sabine, and Ezra are able to fight off the stormtroopers, the mercenaries, as well as Shin, which means that Master, Apprentice, and Ezra Bridger are all reunited, which Morgan Elsbeth tells Thrawn is very concerning. But of course, Thrawn is always one step ahead. He knows that he may have lost this battle versus Ezra, Sabine, and Ahsoka, but it was truly all a diversion to make sure that his stormtroopers stormtroopers had time to load up that precious cargo from the Night Sisters, so that he and Morgan Elsbeth can make his way back to the known Star Wars galaxy. And in this way, I think Dave Filoni did a great job showing us exactly who Thrawn is as a villain, or at least showed for the first time those folks who haven't read the Thrawn books or watched Star Wars Rebels. Overall, I thought this was a very effective episode, and I can't wait for episode 8. Let me know your predictions down in the comments below. As always, I'm Mike, and remember, the Force will be with you always.